Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Always Receiving Noor, weekly Quran study. We are continuing to study Surah Maryam, Surah Mary, chapter 19 of the Quran. This is our fifth session on this, and we have been reflecting on Prophet Zechariah alayhi salam, and his secret prayer to his Rabb, to his Creator, and the way in which that prayer was responded, and the way he responded to that response have been all edifying, enlightening for us. And we will continue to journey with the Prophet Zechariah today. And without further delay, I will turn to Sister Yamina to lead us in tonight's session. As usual, you're welcome to share your questions and comments as relevant during the discussion, during the discourse, or you can wait till the end for the Q&A. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jazakumullah khair.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد عليه. So far, as Isra just reminded us, we've been reflecting and pondering upon the prayer of Zechariah alayhi salam to his Rabb, and how he was answered, and his response to the prayer, and how he asked for a sign, and we reflected on the meaning of the sign, and we saw that there were lots of signs within that, keeping the silence sign. So we stopped at ayah 11, and inshallah our intention is to go up to ayah 15, where the story of Zechariah and his son Yahya, John alayhi salam, ends, and inshallah next time we'll start with the story of Maryam alayhi salam. So we told thereupon he came out of the sanctuary onto his people, talking about here is Zechariah alayhi salam, and signified to them, he means communicated through sign to them, awha, extol his limitless glory, sabbihu, by day and by night. O Yahya, O John, hold on to the book firmly, for we granted him wisdom while he was still a boy, and we granted him tenderness from our presence and purity, because he was devout and conscious of us. And he was devoted or dutiful to his parents, and he was not insolent or rebellious. Has peace upon him on the day when he was born, and on the day he dies, and the day he is raised up alive. Actually, he was born. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فخرج على قومه من المحراب فأوحى إليهم أن سبحوا بكرة وعشيا يا يحيى خذ الكتاب بقوة وأتيناه الحكم صبيا وحنانا من لدنا وزكاة وكان تقيا وبرا بوالديه ولم يكن جبارا عصيا وسلام عليه يوم ولد ويوم يموت ويوم يبعث حيا. Last week and the week before, we talked about the prayer, and the prayer is accepted in this case. So it's we need to open our ears and heart and everything, because it's teaching us how prayers are made, with what kind of consciousness and awareness it is made, with what intention. And the prayer is accepted, and it looks like a miracle. But then we repeat it again and again, not only in this surah, but in previous surahs. In the Quran, we told again and again that the word miracle, mu'jiza, is not used in the Quran. The word that is used for miracles is ayah, sign. The same word is used for what we take as ordinary events like rain and day and night and lightning and drinking, and so they are all ayat. And so we went through that, and we realized how the miracle of Zakaria alayhi salam being old, and his wife being old and barren, she never, not only she was old, but she's never had a child before. This, what we call miracle, is an ayah like everything else. So in fact, everything is a miracle from that perspective. Everything, they're all ayah, they're all signs and messages. Signs to what? To God's power, to his creativity, to his rububiyyah, to his rahmah. And from this perspective, you start seeing how they are means, they are reminders to exalt God's glory, to glorify him, to make tasbih. And that is exactly what Zakaria alayhi salam's ayah, he asked for an ayah. He was asked to keep silent. And clearly Zakaria alayhi salam understood the message contained within that ayah of keeping silent. And that is why in ayah 11, he asks his people, he goes out and asks his people to make tasbih and glorify God constantly. He says to them without speaking, since he's not allowed to speak, but he signifies to them, he through signs language, أوحى إليهم, and سبحوا بكرة وعشيا. Make tasbih, glorify him, glorify God, morning, evening. It's like day in, day out in Arabic, morning, evening, bukratan wa ashiya, constantly. So we could see the link between the ayat of this surah. So because otherwise it would be like suddenly he is asked to fast and keep silent, and then suddenly he goes out and say to people, make tasbih. And it would be like all pieces one after the other, but they don't seem to be related to each other, until we ourselves try to keep silent and reflect and listen and see how silence is an ayah to tasbih, to remind us that everything is an ayah. And therefore, we do not have any doubt about the miracle, because the power that keeps my breathing going on right now is a power that it can only be a power that sustains the whole world. So the same power can give a child to an old barren couple. He but wills something, says unto it, be, and it is. Subhanallah. So what have we learned about prayer so far? Well, we learned many things, but what I want to remind ourselves is that through his need for an heir, Zakaria alayhi salam was guided. Guidance is very important here. He was guided to ask for an heir. We said this before. And as he was guided to ask for an heir, he also was made to witness the power, the knowledge, and the encompassing rahmah involved in the fulfillment of that need. So we said that needs were the keys to the beautiful divine names. They were also a reflection of the name Hadi, the one who guides onto the Surat al-Mustaqim, the straight path, the path that leads to him in the easiest way. Our needs are guidance from our Rabb. They are ayat, they are signs leading us to his rahmah. Like on the road, there are signs showing us the way. They show his rahmah. They show the source of all the beautiful divine names. They show the address that they point to is our Rabb's address. So through our needs, we are guided to recognize the giver of the need and turn to him in devotion, in surrender with Islam and Taslim and devotion and taqwa, with the certainty that he alone can grant our needs because he is the giver of the need. This is very important because why I use taqwa in this particular context, because we will see that Yahya alayhi salam is taqi. He's described as taqi, someone who has taqwa, because the primary quality of being muttaqi or taqi is to keep away from what is forbidden, to keep God's boundaries, to not go against his will. And that's very important, because I only go against his will means I am looking for ways to satisfy my needs through my own, on my own, without surrendering to the giver of the need and asking for the fulfillment of the need from him alone, because I'm not even aware that the need is not there. Like we have hunger, but like it's not just because we need all these vitamins and all this food and things. When we are babies, when human beings are babies, that's the time when they grow the fastest. That's the time when they need sustenance the most. But that's the time when they have only one sustenance, only milk. So that's showing us that need can be taken care of with one kind of food. But as we grow, there are so many kinds of foods, and it doesn't mean that I need to have this food or that food. Because the point in having the need is not only the aspect that looks to the body and to the sustaining the body is very small, because I could be eating a very limited amount of food, not in the sense of amount, a variety of food, and still be healthy. And lots of people in lots of parts of the world, that's how they are. So the point is not in feeding the food, full stop. That's what other animal do, and all animate living beings do. But being humans, there is something more, which is that the need and the fulfillment of the need together constitute an ayah, a sign, and they are telling us that there is something beyond. Someone is taking care of us. They are pointing to rububiyah. They are telling us that we are beings with needs. We are abd, ibad. And when we miss that, then we are attached to fulfilling the need, whatever. And so when we are in that state of mind, we may not keep God's boundaries of halal and haram. But when I know that he gave the need, then I would not trespass the boundary of haram, never get close to it, because we trust that whoever gave me this need, he will take care of it. The need itself speaks. The need itself is an indication that everything is fine. Someone is taking care of us. And there are needs that even if we don't take care of them, we're not going to die. So what they speak to us is what matters, not the sign, it's not the need itself always. And this reminded me the saying of the hikmah, the wisdom of Ibn Ata'Allah al-Iskandari that Isra shared with us today in our in Receiving Noor's newsletter. And he says, appeal to no one but him to relieve you of a pressing need that he himself has brought upon you. Who brought on that need upon me? Not me, he. When I think that it's my need and God may help me, may not, I am in a state of disconnection with my Rabb. I'm imagining myself to exist separately and independently of my Rabb, in a state that's going towards shirk. Appeal to no one but him to relieve you of a pressing need that he himself has brought upon you. For how can someone else remove what God has imposed? And how can anyone who is unable to free himself of a pressing need, free someone else of one? Subhanallah, this is wisdom. This is wisdom that is directly taken from the teachings of the Quran. Alhamdulillah. So needs are ayat. They are signs and indications and meaningful messages to whom? To the believers, to the muhsins. The muhsins who read them, to read their needs and everything else in creation. Bismillah, in the name of God, in the name of the Creator, in the name of the giver of the need. In the name of our Rabb, who does not create anything without meaning or purpose. Subhanaka ma khalaqta hadha batila. We glorify you because you certainly have not created this in vain without any purpose. So in the Quran, we are taught how to read the signs, the ayat, and so we are also taught how to read our needs, how to read our pain, our fears, our anxieties, in the name of our Rabb. It's not my need, my pain. Now what am I going to do with it? From the beginning, if I relate to my needs in this way, I'm already not reading properly. I cannot read it properly because I am not grounded in reality. I'm still imagining myself to be independent of my Rabb. But when we grounded in that reality, in who we are as Abd, then the possibility of reading the signs, of reading our needs, our pains and fears in the name of our Rabb starts. And then we realize that they are ayat, meaning that they bear messages from beyond. They bear beautiful messages about the beautiful divine names, messages about the source of all goodness. And when we live with the awareness of the ayat around us and within us, when we are sure that they are meaningful, and they are created on purpose, with wisdom, with rahmah, and those purposes look to eternal life, they look to the Creator, they look to His attributes and divine names, then we start living in the name of God. Bismillah. That's why Bismillah is, we start everything Bismillah. It's a reminder that reminds us that this is how we are supposed to be living. This is the best way, the easiest way to live. This is the way to live in a way that fulfills our purpose in life, the purpose of our creation, that optimizes the purpose of our creation. Then we become open to receive the divine guidance in every event, in every need. Then we can turn our needs into prayer like Zakaria alayhi salam. What we learned here is how Zakaria alayhi salam transforms his need into prayer, or the need transforms him so that he is, because he's open to receiving the guidance, he's guided into prayer, praying, into turning towards his Rabb and asking for help. So the needs make the muhsins, they make here Zakaria alayhi salam, or they are the means that make him remember dhikr, that God alone, our Rabb alone, can satisfy our needs, and he is satisfying our needs. He is answering our prayers. Therefore, he can and he will and he does and he always does. And so our iman, our certainty, our yaqeen, while we are praying, increases. So we do not pray with hesitation and doubt, but with certainty. I may not know how he is going to take care of my needs, but certainly he will. I am not sure in which form of creation it will manifest, but I know that it will be always rahmah, always wisdom, always goodness. So in ayah 7, we've seen how Zakaria alayhi salam's prayer is accepted. He's given the news of a son called Yahya. Yahya is John, in the Bible is John. But is it enough for him to have a son? No, it's not enough to have a son. Not any son can take care of the position of being an heir to Zakaria alayhi salam. So he is not only given a son, but a special son who is fit for the position. And Yahya alayhi salam is exactly that. He's more than just a son, than just an heir. God grants Zakaria alayhi salam a son who is pious, who is God conscious, and on top of that, he's kind and dutiful and tender towards his parents. Subhanallah. And again, this is a clear ayah. Not only the fact that the prayer is answered and he's given a son, but later we are given a detailed description of who Yahya alayhi salam is, because not any son will fulfill the prayer, let's say, will fulfill the need. So we are told that the prayer is accepted in the most beautiful way, in maybe ways that Zakaria alayhi salam may have not even imagined such a good son. Good for the position, good for his parents, and a blessing, subhanallah. And this itself, again, is a clear ayah, because only God and God alone, the creator of everything, all world, could fulfill Zakaria alayhi salam's prayer in this beautiful way. I mean, remember in the Quran, we told the story of Nuh alayhi salam. He had a son, but his son wasn't righteous, we're told. He was not salih. He didn't listen to his father because he relied on his own, he relied on causes, on other things than the divine guidance. In Surat Hud, I think, we told that once the ark of Noah, moved on into the waves, and then the waves were so huge, we told that they were like mountains. Then, when Noah alayhi salam saw the huge waves, he cried out to his son, a son of his. It means he was not his only son, who had kept himself away from the others. Oh, my dear son, Ya Bunaya, embark with us and do not remain with those who deny the truth. And what did the son do? The son answered, I shall betake myself to a mountain that will protect me from the waters. Can you see the shirk here? I don't need God's guidance for that you received. You say you received God's guidance to make a ship because nothing else would help us, because the waves will be so big that even going on top of a mountain won't be enough. He doesn't believe that. He says, I am going to the top of the mountain that will protect me from the waters. Astaghfirullah. As if the mountain can protect him or the height can protect him. And Nuh alayhi salam says, today there is no protection for anyone from God's judgment except those who have earned his mercy. And a wave rose up between them, and the son was among those who were drowned. And soon after, a wave comes and the son is taken away. And of course, here it's the wave is the water, but in life it could be all kind of vicissitudes and events, and that may Allah protect all our children, inshallah, and make them of the righteous, those who follow our Rabb's guidance. And Noah alayhi salam calls out onto his God, and he says, oh my Rabb, oh my sustainer, truly my son was one of my family, and truly your promise always comes true, and you are the وَأَنْتَ أَحْكَمُ الْحَاكِمِينَ, you are the most just of judges. It means Nuh alayhi salam, God had promised Nuh alayhi salam that he and his people, his ahl, which in Arabic could be the family, could be the people with him in his path, would be protected. And God answers him, O Nuh, behold, he was not of your ahl, he was not of your family, of your people. قال يا نوح إنه ليس من أهلك إنه عمل غير صالح. For truly he was unrighteous in his conduct, and you shall not ask me of me anything where you have no knowledge of. So having a son, you can have a son, and the son becomes a source of pain and maybe also new needs, because then it brings into us the need that we don't need only guidance for ourselves, but for the people who we care about. So this situation of Nuh alayhi salam brings in us new needs. We think it's all about me, but actually I'm related to the people around me in so many ways that at first they're not visible. But the more we live in life, the more we become aware of our needs. In this case, for instance, is we want guidance and forgiveness, not only for ourselves, but everyone around us. And the more we connect to the people around us, the more that circle expands and more people become part of it, part of our prayer. So for Zakaria alayhi salam's prayer to be accepted, it is not enough for him to have a son, but also he needs to have a righteous son, Salih, who is able to take the responsibility for his father's position. And that is something beyond anyone's power, anyone's control, except Rabbul Alameen, the creator and the maker of all, who knows all. So when we look at how Zakaria's prayer is accepted from this perspective, it's easier to see the encompassing rahmah. Can you see how the power, the knowledge involved, and the rahmah involved are all encompassing? Because this is a whole series of events are involved in the answering of this prayer. Years of this child, all these events are unfolding, and so we see this child growing into this beautiful, righteous person, human being. And so years later, God addresses Yahya directly, and he says, "Ya Yahya, خذ الكتاب بقوة وأتيناه الحكم صبيا." O John, hold on to the book firmly, for we granted him wisdom while he was still a boy. First, God addresses Yahya alayhi salam directly. O Yahya, Ya Yahya. And this is a sign that Yahya alayhi salam is a muhsin. He lives in the presence of the divine, and therefore he can receive the address directly. And he is told, خذ الكتاب بقوة, like hold on to the scripture, onto the book firmly. The book here, the kitab here is a book, scripture, or the divine address simply. How do we hold on to the divine address? It means take it and firmly on top of that. I mean, to me, when do we say hold on to something? For instance, if you're drowning in the ocean and someone sends, do you call it a buoy? Then we hold on to the buoy. And here, it means hold on to it for life. Know the significance of this guidance. Appreciate it. Be patient and persevere, because sometimes we forget. Be steadfast. Be true to the message. Live accordingly. وَأَتَيْنَاهُ الْحُكْمَ, we granted him wisdom. Just like Yusuf alayhi salam, he was granted wisdom because he was a muhsin. We were told, وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ أَتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. He was given the same thing, al-hukm. So we're told in Surat Yusuf that when Yusuf alayhi salam was grown up, like he was mature enough, you understand, a young man, we granted him wisdom and knowledge. And this is how we reward the muhsineen, those who live with ihsan. So clearly, here, Yahya alayhi salam is a muhsin. Another something that personally made me stop, it's again another sign in the ayah. Every word in the ayah is a sign. Yahya alayhi salam was given wisdom as a child, sabi. Sabi is a small child. Sabi and sabiya. I mean, in colloquial, sometimes it can mean up to a little bit bigger, but in Arabic, it's sabi is a young child. And subhanallah, so wisdom is given. I thought, okay, at first I was surprised. Like, as a child, are you sure? Can sabi mean anything else? Everyone said a child, even some said a small child, a young child. But then I thought to myself, but wisdom is given. Since it is given, then it can be given to a child. Of course, what makes us still wonder and surprised is because we know that wisdom is given, but it's up to me to receive it or not. So who is going to receive it? The muhsin is going to receive it. And this is a reminder that we shouldn't underestimate children's ability for ihsan and ubudiyah. Like Yusuf alayhi salam, remember the story starts when he was a boy, when his brothers threw him in the well, and he's described as a muhsin. He was a child too. And I thought, why is this so striking? Probably I find myself, because usually we have this image, I don't know about you, but usually in the folklore, like say we have this image of old white-haired people. The wise are old and white-haired. Like it's as though the person acquires and gathers wisdom throughout their long life, as if time here is necessary. And of course, it's as though the person is acquiring it themselves, as though causes were efficient in being wise. And it's more about quantity than quality, the quantity of how much we know, how much we learned. Whereas in the Quran, again, we're told that the condition for wisdom is not age. We're not told it's age or it's not age. Wisdom is not associated with age, but with a quality of being a muhsin, living bismillah, living with taqwa. And this means that you can live with taqwa as a child. Because yes, we are not responsible for our choices as children, but still children make choices. And remember, when you were a child, we may not know we don't have full awareness of the consequences of our choices, but we feel it and we make choices. It's a time of learning, but it doesn't mean that there is no choice or no free will. Another word in this, another sign, another ayah message in this word, sabiya, boy, child, is the possibility of wisdom at an early age. I mean, this is, I think, very, very important, because especially in this civilization, enjoyment is so much emphasized at the expense of wisdom or responsibility or any other virtues. So we have this idea that child means playing without purpose. Playing, doing, like having a purposeless life almost. And as a result, the age of being called a child or being expected to act like that is getting higher and higher. And when we look at history, not only within Islamic history or the rest of world history, many characters who have accomplished things that were recorded that in history, if you go and check their ages, they are like now we will call them teenagers. And so more and more adults are behaving more and more like living like children, less and less responsibly, less and less wisdom. In reality, in fact, children play, but play is a means to learn. It's the way they learn. It's not just playing forever and without any aimlessly. And the way the society is also now, you can see in like more agricultural societies or rural societies, small children are given some kind of responsibilities. You pick up something, you take care of your brothers and cousins and things, or you clean the house, you pick up something. But now our lifestyle is becoming such that children have less and less responsibilities unless we're really making an effort to educate them responsibly. So childhood is the phase when human beings are prepared for being ibad, for being abd. It's not just like waiting to grow. Waiting to grow anyway, a cat also grows. A child, whether you educate him or not, or you educate her or not, they will all grow. And that's why there is a tradition, roughly speaking, they talk about 3 stages in parenting. There is from birth to 7 years old, where physical and intellectual and moral development is important, and giving the child a sense of order, a sense of there are consequences for our choices. The second stage starts at 7, around 7, up to 14. And there, in this stage, responsibility and discipline are more emphasized. There are regulations. For instance, there are rules that can't be, trespassed rules without consequences. You can't just do whatever you want without any consequences, because that's how the creation is. I can't leave, if I live on the 3rd floor, I can't leave my home from the window because that's how I like it. I have to go and follow and leave through the door and use the stairs to go down. And if I can of course go out of the window, but there are consequences. And the 3rd stage, we're told, is after starting from 14 onwards, where parents are supposed to be friends, mentor friends, more than educating and teaching. So I thought it's interesting that these children like Yusuf alayhi salam and Zakaria alayhi salam are muhsins at such a young age. Subhanallah, mashallah, tabarakallah. And in ayah 13, we're told, وَحَنَانًا مِنْ لَدُنَّا وَزَكَاةً وَكَانَ تَقِيًّا. And again, we granted him tenderness from our presence, min ladunna, and purity, because he was devout, he was conscious of us. Hanan is used especially between mother and child. This tenderness, compassionate. So Yahya alayhi salam was compassionate. He was affectionate and tender. And tender. Can you imagine what a great blessing for old parents? Not only parenting him becomes very easy, because being a parent at a certain age is not easy. It's difficult to take care of yourself. Those who have grandchildren know. It's nice to have them for a short time, but if you have them for a few days, it is not easy, especially if you don't have help. I don't know if they had help or not. So this makes the parenting him easy, and also it's a blessing. It's blessing in he must have been a blessing in their old age. And he was devoted, he was dutiful to his parents, and he was not insolent or rebellious, we are told in the next surah. وَبَرًّا بِوَالِدَيْهِ وَلَمْ يَكُ جَبَّارًا عَصِيًّا. What a beautiful child to have, subhanallah. It's a gift not only for the position, but for them, side rewards. For them as people, as parents, it's a beautiful gift to have such a beautiful child. And so we're told Yahya alayhi salam was granted tenderness, hananan, and purity because he was taqi. So wa in Arabic, the coordinating conjunction wa can be understood as and so because. From one aspect, he is taqi as a result of his receiving these qualities. From another perspective, however, he was open to receiving these qualities, the tenderness and the wisdom and everything, and act upon them and reflect them in his life. Otherwise, just because something is given to me, if I am not receiving it and acting on it, it's not going to, no one is going to see it. It's not going to have an effect in my life. So from one perspective, it is so, as a result, he was taqi. From another perspective, it is because he was taqi that he was able to receive all these qualities. And the Arabic conjunction wa means so and because at the same time, which is beautiful, I think. Taqi here, some will translate it as God conscious and maybe others as devout or something like that. It's from taqwa. It's like muttaqi, from taqwa. So from one perspective, the result of taqwa is being God conscious. But also, or you can't have taqwa without being God conscious. But also we need to remember, as I mentioned earlier, that it includes the meaning of keeping God's limit and staying away from haram, from anything forbidden. He was taqi means he did not trespass God's boundaries. He did not go against God's will. He did follow God's guidance. So being God conscious is not an abstract concept. It is a living reality. It is a way of being in the world, a way of living in the world. If we are in a certain way, as a consequence, we will reflect it in our words, in our thoughts, in our behavior. And people will see it, like Yusuf alayhi salam. He's being a muhsin. The people who were with him in jail, they didn't know about God and the hereafter, but they describe him as a muhsin. Why? Because they see the ihsan, the beauty in his word, in his behavior, in his way of being with them. Even if they are not, they do not see it as a reflection of his being connected to his Rabb, and therefore reflecting these attributes, the wisdom and the divine names through his life. So this is very, very important. I cannot be living in haram and claim to be God conscious. It would be a contradiction. I would be just, it just can't be. And the next ayah is وَسَلَامٌ عَلَيْهِ يَوْمَ وُلِدَ وَيَوْمَ يَمُوتُ وَيَوْمَ يُبْعَثُ حَيًّا. What a beautiful end. Hence, peace be upon him on the day when he was born, and on the day he dies, and the day he is raised up alive again. And this prayer is repeated for other messengers of God in the Quran. For the unbelievers, however, we're told in another ayah in the Quran that neither the heavens nor earth shed tears over them. فما بكت عليهم السماء والأرض وما كانوا منظرين. And Imam Nursi, rahimahullah, he says, if the heavens and earth don't shed tears over unbelievers, this is an indication that they do shed tears over the believers. And why? Because the believer is someone who is friends with all creatures of God. The believer, the muhsin, he's aware of the bond we all share in being all creatures of the same Rabb. He loves them in the name of God, Bismillah. He loves the food and water and the people around him in the name of God as blessings and gifts from the divine. And his messengers, his ayat, everything he loves everything, he interacts with everything as his messengers, as his ayat, as his sign, reflecting and mirroring his beautiful divine names. So this is very, very important, because it's who wouldn't like to live such a life of ihsan and of taqwa, that at the end there is peace. Peace upon him the day he's Salamun alayhi, the day he is born, and the day he is عليه يوم ولد ويوم يموت, the day he is born, the day he dies, and the day he is raised to life again. ويوم يبعث حيا. So if a human being lives with such surrender, like Yahya alayhi salam and like the prophets of God, his messengers, with surrender, with taqwa, with ihsan, then it is a life worth living, a life worth saluting with peace. Peace be upon those who choose to live in this way. When we don't live this way, when we don't live with surrender and taqwa and ihsan, what happens? What do we gain? All the pleasures of this world are fleeting, they are passing, and in themselves they are definitely not worth being our goal in life. All of us have experience, whatever your past is. If you were 20 years old, look at the 20 years behind you. You are in your 30s, look at the 30 years behind you. What is in your hand right now? If it does not look to akhirah, if it does not look to the hereafter, if it does not look to eternal life, then everything is fleeting, everything is passing, and there is nothing in our hands. Empty hands after a whole, however long life of toiling. It leaves only frustration and sadness. It leaves frustration and sadness because this is not what we were created for, because the human soul longs for eternity, longs for eternal joy, eternal being with our beloved ones, being in that rahmah all the time. And that rahmah, in this world, we see it reflected in everything, but each event, each thing itself is fleeting and passing. And so in that passing, in that motion, it's also an ayah pointing to the fact that they are coming from somewhere and going somewhere else. And then we start longing for that unseen world, that permanent world where everything is coming from. They stay here impermanently for very short time, so we don't want to stay here. We also long for leaving this world to the eternal one, the next life, inshallah. We told in the Quran that human beings have been, the children of Adam, have been honored. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have honored the children of Adam. All human beings have been honored. Not only certain people or only the prophets, or all human beings. But it's up to us to live with that honor that befits human beings or not. We're also told in Surat At-Tin, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ السَّافِلِينَ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَلَهُمْ أَجْرٌ غَيْرُ مَمْنُونٍ. We told, truly, we have created human in the best form. And then we reduced him to the lowest of the low. It means we have the potential for the best and the potential for the lowest of the low. Except so, we say the best and we're created in the best form, but we can fall to the lowest of the low. And I don't know how you feel, but I feel I don't want to go to be in the lowest of the low. So I feel, how can I avoid this? And it says, yes, you want to avoid the lowest of the low? Who are those who avoid the lowest of the low? Those who believe and do good works. It means they believe and they live according to that belief. This is very important because unless I live according to that belief is not truly, it's information, but it cannot be coming from my heart. What I live with, what I speak, what I think, what I act with, is truly what is in my heart, is truly my belief. And when we believe in something, we, we reinforce it until it becomes truly a belief, truly we make peace with it, and our certainty in it increases by acting on it. Because if I never act on it, if I say it's safe to walk there, but I never want to walk there, it means I don't believe it's safe. Or if I'm told it's not safe to live this way, but I still live that way, it means I don't truly believe in it. So belief and action, acting, living accordingly are very much related. Except those who believe and do good works. And the first work is an inner work, is the surrender. That ihsan, seeing. I cannot live with ihsan if I don't surrender. If I'm still living from a place of ego, it's still me versus God, me, my needs, my desires versus God. Will you help me or not? But when we surrender, we start living from the heart, from the soul. And there is no me and my needs. My needs, the needs are messengers unto me. I look at them, listen to them, learn from them, and act accordingly. That's the ihsan part of it. That's so beautiful. My life, just like everything is a manifestation, is a reflecting, mirroring the divine names, the muhsin's life also starts reflecting the generosity, the integrity, the authenticity, the rahmah, the compassion, the goodness and the beauty. Here in the case of Zakaria alayhi salam, the hanan, the affection and tenderness, all these qualities that that he's described with, all these beautiful qualities. People around him can see it because that's how he lived with them. Like, he cannot say that I believe God is the giver, but I don't share anything with anyone. It means truly, truly in my heart, I believe that what is in my pocket or in my house is mine, and I don't believe in abundance and that everything is given to us all the time. Even if I see someone in need, I say, no, I may need it next year. Next year, if you need it, whoever is helping that needy through you will help you through whatever means. So you see how, and these are all in the Quran, there are examples given that you do not give charity because you don't truly believe in the hereafter. So our only one true goal in life is to be a abd to our everlasting Rabb al-Haq. So let's surrender unto him. Let's stop resisting. Let's stop living in illusions. Let's stop deluding ourselves. Let's follow his guidance. We need that guidance. When we stop and think about it, we have no clue where we are going in life. It's darkness. Unless we follow the light of guidance, we will be in darkness. Let's obey his will, for he's closer to us than our own jugular vein. He alone, he made us, and he alone knows the purpose of our life, and he alone knows how to fulfill that purpose. And he alone can ease us into the path that fulfills that purpose. And it's not only about fulfilling the purpose, it's the only way the human heart can find satisfaction. He's the only source of help and guidance. He's the only provider. So if he says, keep away from something, keep away from shaitan's whisperings, do not follow his path, then I don't have to understand it to follow. When I follow, I will understand the wisdom in that. He says, keep away from this, it's haram, then I surrender and trust. And it is when I surrender and trust that the wisdom in that will be unfolded to me. He says, pray 5 times a day. He says, live this way. It is when after I pray 5 times a day, is that the wisdom and the richness and the meaningfulness of praying 5 times a day will unfold to me. I cannot think it. I will understand it, then I will do. Yes, I will. I can. That's what we need to do. But that knowledge is information. I cannot say, but I don't feel it, therefore I will not pray. Well, the first knowledge will be knowledge. You won't feel it until you practice it. That if I say, well, I'm not feeling it yet, therefore I will not practice it yet. I'm not ready. I will practice it when I truly start feeling it. That's called resisting. I'm making excuses to resist. It's like saying, the food there on the table, it doesn't taste good. When it tastes good to me, I'll eat it. Well, you cannot, without eating it, you cannot taste it. I'm sorry, but that's just like that's shaitan's cheating. We're just deceiving us and deceiving us that way. So let's trust our compassionate Rabb. Let's follow his guidance and live accordingly. And as Imam Nursi says, he says, the realm of halal is so vast. Not only it's vast, but it is better fitting to our humanity and to that human living with honor and dignity. It is better fitting to the human soul's needs, so that we live in that joy in this life and in the next. في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة, inshallah. So may we be among those who surrender and follow the divine guidance and live with ihsan, inshallah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. آمين يا أرحم الراحمين. Thank you. Next week, inshallah, it's the story of Maryam, alayhi salam.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a question.
Yes, we have some time for questions, Sister Maha.
So it's fascinating to hear and learn that even wisdom is given rather than acquired, because the perception is that it is acquired. So if it is not acquired and given even to children, what then is the significance of age versus youth, and experience and time versus lack thereof?
It is given, but it is not given randomly and haphazardly. There is a work to be done. That work is a work of purification, getting the heart ready to receive. Purification from our illusion about how we perceive the world. In the beginning, we perceive the world in cause effect. These things, if you do this, it happens like this. It's like you're old, you don't have a child. You're young, you have a child. You work hard, that's why I am better than you. And the purification is when we start questioning our perception. And when we start questioning our perception, actually we don't know it's a perception, we think it's fact. In the beginning, we're in a state of ghafla, and it seems like my perception is the reality out there. But when I ask myself, as we are taught in the Quran, is it true? Then I start realizing that it's not always true. My perception could be in, how do you say? In harmony, in tatabuq.
Congruence?
That's a difficult word.
Difficult word.
Or
aligned with?
Yeah, that's a better word. So my perception could be aligned with the fact and reality or not. And when we start questioning this and making a distinction between my perception and the facts, then I start questioning my perception and purifying it, and I start seeing that water doesn't grow, doesn't give life. Life is given through water. And that's where the possibility of ayat comes in, and everything, I start seeing everything as ayah. And that reading the ayah that's the wisdom. In Surat Yusuf, he's giving the wisdom so that he could interpret events, ta'wil. He was able to make ta'wil al-ahadith. So wisdom is not acquired, but there is a work to be done. For us, usually, that work needs time, but does it need, may take time, but does it need necessarily time? No. If someone is surrenders without making problems, then for that person it's going to be very short. But if I resist for a long time, then it seems like it's taking time. And I learn from my experiences. But I could still learn from my experiences without resisting for a long time and make the path, the journey much faster. So it's a matter of speed, but the journey in wisdom is we are made to journey. We don't move towards it ourselves. If when I surrender, I find myself, I become like a mirror, clean, that reflects. When I am blinded by my own other illusions, beliefs, whatever it is, then I'm unable to receive the wisdom and reflect the divineness. As children on the whole, they have less stories, less beliefs than us, so they're more likely actually to surrender. But again, surrender, whether you're a child or an adult, there is an intention involved. That's the work, the intention, the choice. I do not do work to surrender. I do work to stop resisting. I intend to not resist. Therefore, when I do not resist, I am in a state of surrender. So yes, it is given, but it seems like it's acquired because there is a work to be done. An internal work to be done. And it doesn't mean that because a messenger of God received wisdom as a child, that his wisdom is not going to increase as he grows and his experiences it. Definitely it's going to grow. But the wisdom is not about only the quantity. It's really the quality. I wanted to emphasize the quality part of it, which is not only that it is given, but it is given to the muhsin, as we are told in the Quran. Is okay, Maha?
If I may add,
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's just a topic that actually is very rich and could always use a lot of more elaboration in future
Yes.
halaqas, because this totally sort of explodes the notion that you work for wisdom and you acquire it as though you acquire knowledge. I mean, likewise, knowledge and wisdom are given, but it totally dismisses the theory. I mean, the common notion. So it just will require, in order to adopt this concept in everyday life, it requires a lot of emphasis and more elaboration. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, when we were reading Surat Yusuf alayhi salam, interestingly, as you mentioned, it says we gave him أتيناه حكما وعلما, and we stopped and said, like, I would have said on top of my head without thinking, knowledge first and then wisdom, right? It seems. But then when you stop and really think about it, it is wisdom that makes information into knowledge. But otherwise, it's not truly knowledge. It's not ilm. It remains as, well, it will be, or of course, it will be not a useful ilm. It will be just information, if you see what I mean. I know lots of things about things, but they won't be a true ilm in the sense that they are useful. But if there is wisdom, then that ilm is used wisely. And that's why wisdom was used first. But it is truly, as you said, something to reflect upon. And it's also something that the more we are aware, the more we realize that whatever wisdom, inshallah, we have, or ilm, it is all given. If I think it's from me, it's totally deluding myself and deceiving myself.
And yes, and as a kind of addition to, or a footnote to this is, there are patterns and in the world, and the trick is not to take those patterns into necessity. That's how it can only happen, or this is the reason why it's happening, because you tend to see more wisdom in older people, but that doesn't mean that young people can't have wisdom, or just because you're older you're more wise. You can be very childish and way along in your age. And the Noah passage that we mentioned here is very interesting, because Nuh alayhi salam, peace be upon him, he is given the instruction to construct a ship. So the flood is coming and God is going to protect him from the flood. At the same time, God is going to employ a means through which he will protect him, the ship. And he gets the instructions and he works on it, even though in his time this is something hilarious. They haven't seen a ship before and so on. And then when the waters are raising, the passage that Sister Yamina shared for today, the son is saying, I don't need your God's ship. I don't need the ship to Prophet Noah.
According to practical wisdom,
mountain is high.
It's hilarious because it doesn't. If we never seen it before, lots of things we take for granted just because we've seen them before.
Yeah,
and that's not true wisdom.
Yeah, and then he says mountain, and he's relying on a cause as well, on a means, but this time at the explicit. He is as if he thinks he can defy the Creator through that means, whereas Nuh alayhi salam is aware that this is just a means. Who is protecting them? Not the ship, it's God through the ship.
As if the mountain was not God's creation.
Yeah, so that's the. Otherwise, of course, there are always patterns. There are always means through which God will grant us something. But our challenge is to think that because God is granting through this, that this is it. Like it's not God. I don't need God anymore. I mean, this is the common perception in our age, especially, that simply because we discovered a pattern, we say, okay, I don't need God anymore. I just need the mountain, and that's doomed, because
the practical wisdom of how to use the pattern is one thing. That's not the wisdom that the Quran is talking about. Someone may be an expert in practical wisdom, but if he, as Isra just pointed, if that person believes in the pattern in itself and never connects the pattern to the order beyond the pattern, to the creator beyond the pattern, that person will have no wisdom, that will take him outside causes, outside the world, and connects him to his creator, to his Rabb. That's not wisdom in the sense of the Quran. That's practical wisdom, let's call it, for a lack of better word.
And as a really footnote of a footnote, this is kind of a little bit digression, but it's related. This week, I happened to watch a bit from this National Geographic documentary called In the Womb, and it talks about the baby, growing in the womb. And very interesting, it reminded me one more time that, the gender of the sex of the child is from the chromosome that comes from the father. It's either X or Y, and then if it is X, it becomes a girl. It's Y, it becomes a boy. And I said, subhanAllah, for centuries, in many cultures, the mother was blamed for not having sons. And it makes perfect sense, because it's coming out of the mother, and so you are the main you are the direct cause, and you haven't given a son. It's always daughters. Cultures have always, not always, but many times different cultures still in many cultures they favored boys over girls, and they blamed the mother for not producing a girl. And then subhanAllah, it turns out that actually the sex of the child is completely like the mother is always gives the X chromosome. It's the father, the sperm, that's either Y or X, and with that the child is either a boy or a girl. I'm not using this I'm using this as a second order, as a symbol of how we kind of think this is the cause and this is the responsible for it. It turns out something completely opposite, and it could have been from the mother. But it isn't. It happens to be. So that's a symbol of us, how how we.
Wisdom in that too. You say
there's wisdom in that too, and it's interesting that it's just a metaphor for how we think the mountain will save us, whereas God is saying, get into the ship, and I'm telling to God, I don't need your ship, God, I need the mountain. That's so hilarious. It's but we do this just because there's a pattern.
In life we do it. We could be sent a situation in life that could be like a ship, but because we don't know the ship, or maybe we could use the example of Yunus alayhi salam, because it makes more sense to us, because now we are acquainted with the ship, so we feel it safe with the ship maybe. But Yunus alayhi salam, he found himself in the belly of a whale, and that's it. Storm, night in the belly of the whale. But actually, if you are in a storm, that was the way he was saved and taken to the shore. But in life, we go through situations that are maybe frightening, and instead of surrendering and waiting and trusting, wait in trust, we start having doubts and saying, what will happen? And because we never been through that, but okay, there are so many situations, it's the first time you go through that situation. And then at the end, when you find yourself on the shore, then you realize that's a new way of God teaching me something, showing me something, taking me to the shore of some situation in life. So it is, we do that. We say, no, I know the mountain. If I go through an illness, I say, no, I know health is better. Yeah, you went through health. The mountain looks solid and things. But if in this situation, God says, get on the ship, There will be waves that will be bigger than mountains. Just trust. That's wisdom. You don't have, because if it only relies on what I lived, then by the time I learned it, it will be over and I'll die. Wisdom is while I'm going through it.
And it's all like these are the patterns are just protocols, you know, like it doesn't have to, what is it to do with like a chromosome this way and it's a boy, chromosome is that way, it's a girl. Like it's almost an excuse, but because it's regular, we think, oh, this chromosome makes the girl, this chromosome makes the boy. Come on, like, you know, it's just teeny tiny teensy bit of chemical. You know.
They are signs to the order.
Yeah, but they aren't themselves the creators or determiners of things. Allah give us the wisdom
Inshallah.
of Iman and the Quran. Inshallah. Okay, so shall we stop here? Inshallah. And Jazakallah khair, Sister Yamina, for sharing, and Jazakumullah khair for everyone for joining us, and those who are listening to us later on. May Allah's peace and blessings be on all of us. And inshallah, see you next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thank you, everyone. Amen.